doesn't get past the checker or past detailed, thrown to the checker when it could have been fixed in the model prior to it even getting to the detailing station or procedure. So again, if I have any channels that need to, I don't know, let's say any material type that needs the grade change, I can select it that way. And also, don't forget, these are items that are being used in my model only. It's not listing from the material file. I'm just going to find another example here. Oh, here's another one. Let's say, let's go plate material. Let's say for any reason I should not have a plate that's 2 inches thick on my project. So I can select plate material and a thickness of 2 inches. So on these members, it's most likely the base plate. Sure enough. So this way I can find out if there's a material that should not be within my model. And of course, as I mentioned, you can subdivide it, whether it's on a sheet, the minimum and maximum length. Next, bolt and washer filter. So this, again, is only going to show you what's currently in your model. So let's say, again, if I had a weird bolt diameter, I can ask the system to search for any member that has a strange, when I say weird, I'm referring to something that shouldn't be on my model. Like a good example is, let's say I have a 7/8 bolt, and I should not be using 7/8 bolts on my project, and I can do a quick search. Now in this case, let's say it's 1 1/4. I should not be using 1 1/4 inch bolts. I can do a quick search for those members that do have them, and here you go. So that should be these here. So, I would deal with this as I need to. So it's just a quick search. I can find them fairly quickly. Again, back to bolt and washers. Now another item, maybe a certain grade that you should not be using. And also here, I got a 9-inch long bolt. Oh, I got to check that out, see if it makes sense. So again, this is, I can do this right before it's detailed. Now, if I look on the other end, just rotate, you can see, oh, wrong end. Where did I miss it? Oh, sorry. There you go. So I do have these long bolts. Now in this case, yes, they're fine. They're framing into other tubes. This is the way it should be. So again, it's just a quick, a quick visual check. Otherwise, it would have gotten to detailing. The checker would have said 9 inches. He would have to find this thing in the model, wires the bolts, and whether it makes sense. This way, as a project manager can do this. Why do I have a 9-inch bolt? Of course, whether it's TC or not, shop or field bolts. So do I want to filter it by just shop bolts or even field bolts? Perhaps, just look for any field bolts that might be an issue. Now, there's a nice handy, if you do, one thing I mentioned, if you start filtering a lot, you can always reset it back to what it was. Any holes, so hole information. Now, I can look for any hole, let's say any diameter that I'm using my project, any slot, length, the hole type, and whether it's valid for CNC. Now, again, if you guys are using CNC, perhaps before, for whatever purpose, I want to look for any hole that's not going to be punched by the CNC machine. So right now on this project, I do not have any holes that are not valid for my CNC. Now, even these holes here, these are just CNC marks. They're 0 diameter holes, but they're still valid for my CNC. So let me zoom to fit. I was mentioning holes. It's pretty straightforward. So again here, weld. So next is the weld filter. So perhaps, let's say a 1/2 inch. If I look for a 1/2 inch bevel groove, perhaps, I'm curious where am I using a 1/2 inch bevel groove. In this case, it says no members affected. Now, the reason it says that is because, number one, I don't have any 1/2 inch bevel grooves. But if I select 1/2 inch again, I do. So remember, the more filters you select, the greater chance that those, like every single one of those filters has to apply. So I don't have a 1/2 inch bevel groove, but I pretty much guaranteed I have a 1/2 inch fillet. Oh, what did I do there? Half inch. I'm just going to select 1/2 inch. It should have. I don't write this down. It should not be listing any weld that does not appear on my model. Okay. So just give me a minute. I'm going to write that down. Weld problem. I'll fix this before it's sent out, so don't worry about it. But I'm curious why any weld, just to double check. Okay, so I'll have to double check why that's coming up. Or maybe I just a process just to make sure I didn't miss something. And try it again. Because it should. Okay, well, looks like there's a bug in the system, but don't worry, like I said, I'll fix it before I send it out. Okay, so, or if I want to look for just any weld type. There we go. So I have a bevel groove on this member, let's say right here. So now, and remember, if I had selected within, I'll just do it again, like further adding filters to it, or not filters, but selection. So if I say keep member selection, weld with a bevel groove, it's not going to select the weld. It's going to select the member that weld is attached to. And the same thing goes for material. The only thing I can actually select is the member or edit the member or edit the property screen of the member. Because the filter, when you see these filters, it's just filtering by that. The selection is always by the member. Connections being used. So perhaps I want to look for a certain type of connection. So I can say, let's say shear plate on the left end where it's framing to a beam to column. Perhaps there's an issue with that, or I need to check that. So here, I have some members that are using that, and this is only on the left end. So I'm just going to put the column. So as you can see on the left end of this beam, there's a shear plate, and it's the framing conditions from a beam to a column. Now, just to go through some of these connections, so beam web extended to the on the bottom of the beam. Let's say even splices. I saw splices somewhere. Okay, I'm not using them here. Where is it? Bottom flange plate, stiffeners. So I can find items of that, and I can filter it by the side.